Hey, so this is Ramon, Channelist Alpha 4, and I'm going to call this follow-up or a brief response to my questions for atheists, skeptics, and cynics. So in my videos, when I'm speaking about the Bible, I'm not actually giving any apologetic, there you go, any apologetic interpretation of the Bible. I'm actually giving a literary and philosophical point of view. And while I do go for consensus, I do look at all these commentaries from different perspectives. You have Calvinist right here. You're going to have Baptist. You're going to have Catholic. You're going to have academic. You're going to have secular. You're going to have Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Catholic again, Jewish Orthodox, and Jewish Reformed. And I go through their interpretations and I kind of give a consensus when I'm doing my literary interpretation of the Bible. And I also do some philosophical stuff as well that I'll take from the church fathers and from other theologians, be they heretics or be they traditional Orthodox. But two of the ones that I personally like to go to for my own personal understanding is going to be the secular, the scholarly and the secular, one or the other, whichever one you want to call. This is a critical edition of the Bible, and it's really good. It's from Norton. And then this is an academic version from Oxford. And while there is an Oxford Catholic one that I like and an Oxford Jewish one that I like, this one just has the best hot takes. There's no real agenda here, and they're just going to talk about source material. And what I like about this one is that it actually presents source material. But I also own that source material. So let's go there. So first off, let's talk about the Sugerpiggefa and the Gnostic. These are texts that are rejected from the Bible. I haven't used them as much as I would like to in my studies. The Quran's over there, by the way. I haven't used these as much as I'd want to. But they're there. And when I have to reference something or when I want to see what something says, I can open it up and read. It's good to see what it actually says, what these myths are and why they were rejected. And there's another reason why the Quran's there, because the Quran actually uses this material. It doesn't use the biblical material. It's going to use later additions to the Christian mythos. And because of that, because it's drawing from these and not from the actual canon, that version of Jesus and the monotheistic God is very different than what you see in Christianity and Judaism. But there is another problem with what's being presented. There is another objection that gets thrown at Christians all the time. And it does get thrown at Muslims as well, but not as heavily. And I haven't heard it thrown to Hindus. But what they'll say is, well, what about all the other texts? What about all the other religions? Well, I've actually read all of these. I think there's two in there. I haven't read the Shambhala press version of Buddhism, and I think that one right there. I haven't read it also. But all the rest, I mean, this has been in my library since I was like, I don't know, 18. I'm familiar with all these books. I'm familiar with what's in them. And I've read the other religions, and I'm familiar with them, and I take them seriously, and I like the ideas in some, and I reject the ideas in others. So that complaint, that what we call in religious circles the leapfrogging, the lily pad hopping that atheists do when they get caught in what atheists call a trap, a Christian trap, or a rhetorical trap. A lot of the Christians and Catholics that I see and that I listen to are familiar with these sources. Jimmy Akin has read all this stuff. James White has read all this stuff. To throw that objection at them is just a detraction. It's not a real objection, and it's quite frankly insulting. It assumes a level of ignorance that is not there. That's not cool, especially when they're not demonstrating ignorance. And then when you speak to a Catholic, you have another problem, which is all of this stuff right here. So there are a lot of Protestants also who use the same source material. But for me as a Catholic, I go to all of this. And all of these are also ideas and developments that I think are important to religion. And I think it's important to know the context of the Bible and the ideas of Christianity and where they come from. And to assume that I don't know those things or that these things are irrelevant to my belief system is again insulting. And then there's another topic, which is history. I understand that most people's libraries don't include these books, or if they do, they're unread. I really do understand that. But this is in my library. This is stuff that I like reading. And so I'm reading history, actual ancient history. And a lot of these ancient historical sources are from medieval reprints, because the original ancient sources are lost. And so when we're talking about textual evidence, or when academics are talking about textual evidence, they're not talking about what the low-hanging fruit atheist is talking about. And you're just repeating stuff from Dawkins, and you're not taking into consideration all of this stuff. Even Amun-Ra would sometimes do that in his videos against Christianity. He would simply act like as if the religious person has never read any of these things. I've read all these things. And I've seen Amun-Ra and other high-valued atheists go up against academics who don't believe in God but do believe the Bible is historically accurate. And they honestly get torn apart. The atheist, the skeptic, gets torn apart because they're simply denying academic history and secular history. They're not denying religious theology or metaphysical dogma. And so it looks foolish when you do that. Also, when you do obvious misinterpretations, it just hurts your argument for atheism or secularism. And again, this is not a positive argument for or against anything. But when you go after religious people and assume a level of ignorance on their behalf, or assume the worst possible intent in what they're saying, you're just showing your own history with religious people in your life. You're not showing an understanding of the source material. And when you say that atheism isn't putting forth an idea or a claim, you're also assuming a level of ignorance on behalf of other atheists, because there are atheists who exist, who are making a claim. And while you can disagree with those claims, they are being made. And when religious people, especially well-read religious people, are speaking against atheism or secularism or humanism, they're speaking against specific philosophies. They're not speaking against you. And when we are speaking about atheist societies, we're not speaking in the hypothetical. Many of us have relations and families in secular and atheist countries. We've dealt with people who live in actual Marxist or socialist societies. We're married to people. We have brothers and sisters in those areas, from Cuba, from China. And we can read their histories and their language, and we learn. We're not just talking theoretical. Another problem is with the mythicists. And I know that the mythicists and the new atheists are not as popular, and that a lot of current atheists will try to deny that those movements ever happened. But they did. They were real, and they were powerful, and they were interesting. And they were what was popular on YouTube for a very long time. And the problem is that when you pull ideas from those groups, even if you try to ignore that those groups exist, what you're doing is you're negating an important part of religious history. You're dividing out Christianity from Judaism. You're dividing out Taoism, the religion, from Taoism, the philosophy, and you're ignoring the development that happened, the real development that's historically proven, and you're denying the history not of religion, not of mythology, but of a people. A history that is recorded by historians, not just the religious version. And again, you're also making a mistake in assuming we don't know the arguments. We don't have the same foundation of information. I think Darwin's a genius. I think Hawkins a genius. I like and listen to things from Freud and Jung. And I understand that there are heretical religions and ideas that don't fit in. You have to, excuse me, I had to move some stuff around to be able to show this. So, sometimes I don't know who atheists and skeptics who are still doing that kind of material are talking to. And there's a reason why our channels who talk on this subject are no longer popular, because these topics were hit on, and both sides looked foolish, and the audience moved on. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. I didn't cover all the topics in the way that I wanted to. There was a few things that I wanted to hit on that I didn't get to. For instance, there was some stuff brought up about, proving God's existence that honestly I wasn't even talking about. I brought up the questions that I asked because, one, I wanted to see how skeptics and atheists and cynics responded to those same questions. And as I thought, they responded the exact same way Christians and Catholics do. And almost everyone from any religion does when these questions are brought to them. They responded the exact same way and said the exact same things that we say. 2, there is the other question of, well, there were certain lingering points from people that I've interacted with, Tex and Doc to be specific, and now Deconverted Man, where they take an extreme skepticism, a cynical skepticism that is hard to answer or even hard to respond to. And unintentionally, I saw that atheists and skeptics responded to their questions, which, again, these are real questions that these people had for me that I wanted to get answers to. They responded as if those questions could only come from a Christian or a theist. Well, these were atheists, hard skeptics that were asking these questions and that I wanted answers to. These are hard accusations that they were giving me, and atheists and skeptics responded to these questions. Only a religious person would be so ignorant as to ask these questions. These are questions that real humans who I respect, who disagree with me, had about religion. And yet, the atheist and skeptic watching me present the questions assumed that they were dogmatic, ideological questions. Maybe that says something about the atheists and skeptics who are still fighting so hard about religion. And there's a guy who I like, the Apostate Prophet, who me and his channel started talking about religion at around the same time. He was not very big at the time. I was hoping that my channel would grow in pace with his so that one day I could interact with him. Obviously that didn't happen. His channel took off, mine did not. But he is having the same problem and coming to the same realization that I am, which is that both sides are dogmatic and ideologic. And I understand that there's some dogma that is necessary. Like, we have to, if we're going to be living in this reality, we have to accept gravity regardless. If you're going to be religious and be a Christian, you're going to have to accept the Bible and the Bible's precepts, otherwise you're a heretic. If you're going to be a Muslim, you're going to have to accept the Quran. If you're Hindu, you're going to have to accept the Hindu scriptures. Whatever religion you are, you're going to have to accept certain things if you're going to hold to those beliefs. Otherwise, you're just a heretic and you don't really believe what you're saying. And nobody wants a bad faith argument, even though that seems to happen a lot now on the internet. I'm thinking about Vosh here when I say that. But some of the responses, hateful and spiteful responses to my questions, both in my previous questions for atheists and in my current, do show the immaturity and the venom and the bias and the prejudice of the atheist and skeptic community, and it doesn't look good on you guys. I understand that there's homophobia and sexism among the people within my faith. I get that. I'm not denying that. But I think some of you need to look at each other and realize that you are a community. That once you're speaking for other atheists, even if you just say you're speaking for yourself, but you're promoting a form of atheism or a form of skepticism, you are a community. And while, for instance, I got kicked out of the Catholic YouTuber Club for going after Brian Hansworth for defending, because he defended the Crusades and the Inquisition in a way that was insulting to Jews and Muslims. Well, I went after him for that and got kicked out of that club for doing so. That's okay, because I'm still Catholic. They don't decide whether I'm Catholic or not. The church decides, and above that, God decides. In the same way, you are part of a skeptic community. The people watching you are watching you for skeptic content. They're watching you to promote skeptic ideas. If they came to you for religious ideas, that'd be pretty foolish. They should be coming to my channel for religious ideas. And again, I haven't done an apologetic video. I think I've done 2 maybe in my entire thing. In fact, I think I'm going to close out this channel, or this version of my channel, by doing an actual apologetic video where I'm arguing for Catholic points of view, because I think it would be useful for my audience, utilitarian for my audience, to hear what the difference is between an academic, scholarly approach, a theological approach to biblical themes, versus an apologetic approach. And I say that not because you can't get that regularly, but because so you can hear how someone who holds those ideas sounds when they're speaking not from an academic viewpoint, but from a theological, faith-based viewpoint. I think that'll be helpful for you to hear. Please respond to this video. And I'm not being negative to you guys. Don't take this as an attack. Just realize that when I took the questions that you were asking me out of a biblical context and was asking legitimate, real questions that I had based on your statements under my videos about other historical events, about other historical documents, and for you to just immediately turn around and go, well, what about all the other religions? Like, I wasn't even talking about religion here in that questions for video. I was actually asking, okay, if you're going to have this level of, if you need this level of proof for the Bible, do you need this level of proof for anything else? And some of you said, yeah, you do. And that world sounds horrible to me, where I can't even trust, what I learned in school. That would be terrible. I would hate to live in a world where I can't trust vaccines, where the law has no authority, where every police officer is out to get me, and even my parents I can't trust on moral reasons, ethical reasons, let alone because of like emotional baggage. That just sounds horrible to me. And on the flip side, the atheists and skeptics who are saying those atheists and skeptics don't exist, they do exist. And some of you have interacted with them. They're real people, and they have real concerns. And discounting them or saying they're not part of the true skeptic or true atheist community makes you sound dogmatic and like a religion. You're not allowing opposing views even within your own community of atheism and skepticism. It just seems wrong if you're going to say that you're open to all ideas. And I know that a lot of you are going to comment saying, oh, we don't really do that. That's just a thing that one specific. Okay, if that's the argument, then fine. Then also the same for religious people. That's just one specific religious person who said that crazy thing. That's not all religion. Anyway, peace, like, and subscribe. I hope you all are having a great day. This got a little bit long, and I still got a few other videos to edit. Please enjoy my cyberpunk series, as I am going to be diving into new literature. I intended to only do 1 year of Bible stuff, and I ended up doing 3. There's way too much biblical material to get through. I could spend a lifetime doing this on YouTube, and my channel is not growing very fast because of the biblical stuff that I'm doing. And while I enjoy doing the biblical stuff, there are other books and other material that I'm interested in. There's movies and reviews and book stuff that I want to talk about. And I also want to bring back my martial arts channel. And I also used to do comic book reviews on another channel that I've just kind of let fade away. So peace, like, and subscribe. I'll talk to you all later.